welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for the kickoff of the 12th annual Altered Book Exhibition and Fundraiser. My name is Amy Owen, and I'm the Executive Director here at Marin MoCA. If you happen to be new to the museum, I am too. I'm just in my third week here and very excited to have the opportunity to jump right into this most important fundraising event of the year for the organization. It's the museum's tradition to open this event with a kickoff talk featuring our esteemed jurors, Donna, Seager, and Mary Austin, who I'll have a chance to formally introduce in just a moment. They will be announcing our artist awards and providing some illuminating context about the exhibition and each of the works they've selected. But before we get started, I'd like to give you just a little bit of background about Marin MoCA. The museum has been here for just over 25 years, and our mission is to provide transformative experiences for art lovers of all ages through contemporary art. And we do that in a number of ways. Firstly, by sharing a diverse array of contemporary art exhibitions and providing an art enrichment program for more than 1,000 fourth and fifth graders right here in Novato. We also have an annual artist in residence program, and we teach classes to adult students of all ages and stages in their careers. We have a number of free special events for families throughout the year and an over 160 artist member community that is truly our cultural treasure. In fact, you'll have a chance to see artwork from many of them this evening. If you're new to this event, you might be wondering what exactly is an altered book. And that's a great question. An altered book is a form of contemporary art in a category known as the book arts. And it has a wonderful history and legacy right here in the San Francisco Bay Area. In this exhibition, we feature two different kinds of books. The altered book incorporates a component of an actual book, like a book spine, a cover, interior pages, illustrations, or text. The artist then combines that with their own media to create an original work of art. And then the other category is called an artist book. And in this case, the artist does everything. They write the text, they create the illustrations, and in some cases, they even make their own paper or bind the book themselves. So this year, we have over 135 beautiful book art objects installed here in the galleries, and we invite you to come see them in person and bid on them through May 22nd. Our goal for this year's event is $50,000, and we're so grateful to each of the presenting artists who have so generously donated their work, which allows us to achieve this goal and apply those funds directly to the museum-driven programs and exhibitions of Marin MoCA. We are enormously grateful for a $10,000 challenge grant from the Donald O. and Ronald R. Collins Foundation, which will be used to match dollar for dollar the revenue that's generated from our book sales. Last year obviously presented a number of unprecedented challenges for the museum, but also an opportunity to evolve the format of this fundraiser to an online bidding platform. And so we're continuing that model again this year with our auction house partner, bidsquare.com. While we still encourage you to come check out the exhibition and see these works in person, starting today through May 22nd at 6 p.m., you'll be able to bid on artworks from the comfort of your own home. You can follow the instructions on our website to register and start bidding now. So now, at long last, I'm excited to introduce our jurors who each bring such an incredible wealth of knowledge and expertise to the book arts and have played such an important role in the development of the form here in the San Francisco Bay Area. First, we have Donna Seager, who is co-owner of the Seager Gray Gallery in Mill Valley. Donna has been director of Seager Gray with her partner Suzanne Gray for over 10 years now, where she presents her own annual Art of the Book exhibition. Her exhibitions have also been presented across the country in New York, Miami, and San Francisco. Donna has been just an amazingly consistent champion for artists that specialize in book arts and has been responsible for discovering some of the most talented makers in the field. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight, Donna. And Mary Austin has been a supporter and advocate of the book arts for over 30 years. She was the first curator and assistant director of the Museum of Printing History in Houston, Texas. And she is the co-founder with Kathleen Birch of the San Francisco Center for the Book. Founded in 1996, it's the first center of its kind on the West Coast dedicated to the support, appreciation, teaching, and creation of the book arts. Today, the center presents a wide range of exhibitions, events, workshops, and the like that raise awareness and appreciation of the book arts and provide educational opportunities and training across all aspects of experimental bookmaking and printing techniques. Mary is also a seasoned collector of artist books herself and publisher of the Underground Press of San Francisco. So we are just absolutely thrilled to have both Donna and Mary here with us tonight. And so with that, I'm delighted to turn things over to Donna and Mary, who will kick things off for us first by sharing their overall impressions of the exhibition and then take us through a reveal of our artist awards. So take it away, Donna and Mary. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, welcome from Vancouver.
Yeah.
A little far away this year.
Yeah. We had fun doing it remotely though, didn't we, Mary?
Absolutely, absolutely. Kind of joined at the hip through
Right,
video.
right.
And I just want to take an opportunity to thank Amy Owens for joining us and welcoming her to this wonderful community.
Absolutely.
Of Marin Mocha. You know, it's amazing that this show has become such a major part of Marin County. You know, really every year new artists try their hand at this new art form. And it's really satisfying to see just how creativity is expressed in so many different people and ways.
Absolutely. And also, you know, I know from somebody walking in the gallery that even families have gotten involved. It's become such a Marin tradition, and entire families have worked together on a book, or there's been a lot of collaborations. So it really has become a part of the fiber, the cultural fiber of Marin County over these years, and a way to raise money for Marin MoCA, which is what we are here for.
Absolutely. We thought that we'd start this talk with just kind of going over some general observations about the show. Obviously, there was a lot of reflection this year. Understandably, you know, people dealing with memory and you know, all of the everything around the pandemic. And I think that it's really important for us to, you know, take the time to reflect. And I think you'll be delighted and impressed by the pieces that are in this show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we wanted to have a little shout out to Eleanor Murray, someone that we were both very fond of, who had so much to do with the beginning of this show and is not with us anymore, but we see her influence everywhere. And we just couldn't begin this without giving her a little shout out.
Absolutely. You know, it is a little overwhelming to come face to face with 150 books and have an afternoon to kind of try to figure out how to evaluate and encourage people to continue the participation in this show. And, you know, one of the things that we noticed is that, you know, we kind of go through the show and we make kind of an initial cut of the pieces that we really felt were exceptional. And then you have to start the painful process of kind of trying to put these pieces in, you know, even a smaller category of excellence. And you end up with pieces that you are very attached to that just don't quite make it into, you know, you only have a couple of spots to fill for the awards. Right. So if we can go ahead and go to the first slide, we'll do a shout out to some of the pieces that we really felt were important to us.
Was that the first one? I thought it was this one. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll run with it.
All right. Okay. We thought we had hanging on every word, but here is Choir by Maria Esther Sund. And I have to tell you, I particularly love this piece because it has the piano keys. In a way, the book is bound by the parts of the piano that hold in these beautiful profiles of the choir, the singers, with this one little wire hanging up over above their head, which I find really fascinating as well. And you'll hear a lot through this that I love edges, right, Mary?
Absolutely. You're the edge girl, little edgy.
And I think edges are beautiful. And when you have this whole group of these profiles coming towards you, they're really, really wonderful. The
And I think that also with this particular piece, you know, it's a really great use of materials. So you've got the piano keys, you know, it's about, you know, choir and singing, and it's intoning these head-shaped pages actually are all on different parts of pages of music. And you know, I thought there were a number of pieces that really the material and the concept worked really well together. There was Laurie Murphy's Witness, which I mean, if you like Staples, this piece, I mean, it's just really wonderful. Staples as a staple of the piece. Or another one was Anne Gable's Open Book Archive, which had the pigmented polyurethane pieces, which seems so apropos to our life this year, an archive where everything's, you know, kind of in plastic, you know, and what we've been dealing with the pandemic. So just a shout out to all of those artists. I mean, really, brava, really wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work. Shall we go to the next slide? We'll see if we get to our slide that, there.
Back to the wire.
Oh.
Forward. Here we go.
There we go. Yay. So a shout out to Janet Bean and hanging on every word. I mean, this is really a lovely piece and so timely. There were a lot of pieces that were very political, and this is particularly poignant to have the shadows. You know, the shadow, this is a wire piece, and it is lit so that the words that make up the clothesline are actually in a funny way more visible on the wall, which I think is a lovely metaphor of, you know, the writing on the wall. And the text is Amanda Gorman's amazing poem from the inauguration. And it's really, I loved in the artist description that she talked about mesmerized by her words and the delivery, and we were indeed hanging on every word. And
absolutely, absolutely. The words say, merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy. Perfect.
Amazing.
Yeah. I also wanted to point out the little bit of details that she goes to the trouble with wire, like the folds in the jeans, and I particularly love the underwear on the right. And there is it is actually impeccable, this piece. There's nothing that is you know, it works perfectly. Congratulations, Janet, for doing
that. And you know, that also that just there were a number of pieces that were just really delightful and even funny. You know, Charlene Steen's comical swallowing the Bible whole.
Yeah.
Really made us giggle. And there's another one, Paulette Traverso. The fly paper, which is very entertaining, very large paper mache fly, and the little book that's attached to it is quite wonderful too.
And perfectly done, you know, is the way she works. I've shown her before myself, and that one we really definitely enjoyed as well.
So let's go. I think we're going to have to skip 2 ahead because the next one that we were going to talk to. Yes, excellent. Tales About Africa, Marsha Balin. You know, this mixed media book is just so beautiful. Again, kind of shout out to kind of the legacy of Eleanor Murray, and there's something really wonderfully touching and sentimental about these particular pieces being put together in this way. I know that there were a number of pieces that brought together, kind of almost detritus. There's Janet Bogardus, I hope
Right.
that's how you pronounce it,
Yes,
the Record Keeping Essentials, which was about Fukushima and the nuclear meltdown there. There's actually a great exhibition in Vancouver right now about that and kind of, you know, the detritus of our lives. And I just thought that this was incredibly beautiful.
Right, right. Also, the craftsmanship on this is really incredible. This book is an actual book. I looked it up. It's about Africa that has like all these engravings that you've probably seen before that are almost stereotypical African. And here we have this beautiful photograph of this lovely African woman. Good job, Marcia. Thank you.
Okay, so next slide. There we go.
Okay, a bibliography of insights. Why shift? And if you look up in the top of it, I'm pointing as if you can see me point, but you can't. But, I forget. But there's a shift key there, and this book is this beautifully ephemeral hanging of materials that overlap and interplay, and beautifully done. Mary?
Yeah, and also just I'm looking at it. It's actually an upcycled yearbook, which I think is very sweet, you know, and because that's a time in our lives when we feel we have so many great insights. But I also think that the materials that were used, Donna was able to kind of page through it for me, were, you know, perfectly balanced, and you know, all these different weights of materials, but she's able to really make it work. And so
Right. It feels like a fiber piece, but it's really a paper piece. I mean, and every way that she did it, it is both strong and incredibly ephemeral.
yes. Okay, next slide, please. So now we get to our awards. We have first award, our special recognition award. This is the Flip Book, Comic Book 2 by Jeff Haynes. And Jeff is a resident at the Cedars, which is a residential facility supporting adults with developmental disabilities. And they have a great art teacher there. They've been able to, they have submitted pieces to the Marin Mocha show before, and they are always delightful. But this one in particular, it's such a vibrant book that, you know, it highlights kind of a love of color and play. And I absolutely love the kind of honest, straightforward, yet still whimsical kind of communication that is able to happen through this exquisite corpse form or structure that has you know, there are actually 8 separate paintings and these wonderful characters that, you know, you can kind of mix and match their costumes and body parts.
Yeah.
and,
You know
and
what?
go ahead.
Sorry. You know what I love was the way it's done is with basically 2 book boards that are held together with 9 little binder rings, those little binder rings. And it was a perfect solution to make you be able to turn those pages and change the head, body, and feet, you know, easily. And I thought sometimes simplest is best.
Yeah.
You know, if they had tried to bind it differently, it wouldn't have had that facility.
Right. Okay, next slide. Let's get to the next slide, please. Yes.
Now we're going into these honorable mentions. Go ahead, Mary, you start on this one.
Sure. You know, I love this piece called Dictionary because, you know, I live in a world of bits and bytes with, you know, 1 and a very long number of zeros after it. And there's a lot of information, but, you know, it fits on a thumb drive. And I love the ability of the you know, this dictionary has such great volume. And I think that, you know, the weathering of the pages, it really shows a fascination with the effects of time and weather. And, you know, on this object, a dictionary that we all used to have, you know, on our desks that we don't in many cases anymore, but, you know, transforming it into this amazing object, which I think allows us to find new meaning in it. through this transformation. It really is wonderful to behold. It's an outstanding piece.
When I saw it, I found myself feeling a lot of associations, you know, and one of the things was there was clearly a lot of patience in this, because I think they crumpled each page individually, one at a time, to get the volume of the dictionary, to give it that round space. But also, you know, it kind of looks like a plunger or a cleaner or something like that, like a tool. And we've been through a period when there was a question about, it's about words matter, dictionary words,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know if that was their intention or not, but these are the associations I had when I saw it. And it's an object, and it's a marvelous object. Which
Indeed. All right, next slide. Ah, yes.
my goodness.
Donna, do you want to start out on this one? We love this
We could
piece.
probably like go to the mat about starting on this one because we both love it. I call it the you know, the book Brancusi, in its utter simplicity and integrity. I think it could almost be like a maquette of a monumental piece, you know, but because it's this ephemeral edges of paper, you know, I love edges, you know, it's just wonderful.
Well, there are those edges again. But what I loved about this place, this piece, is that, you know, it's a book about solid geometry, and you can see the kind of the negative space on the back side of the spine. But of course, solid geometry is the geometry of 3 dimensions. It's Euclidean space, you know, solid figures. So, you know, you think of rectangles and prisms and pyramids, spheres, cubes, and this doesn't have any of that. And yet, if you break it up into small enough pieces, you have all of those shapes in there. So I think it's just a really brilliant piece. It's really speaks to the imagination. My mom's a mathematician, and I love the kind of meta aspect of this particular piece.
I also want to talk about the integrity of its structure, because it stands perfectly perpendicular to its base, which sounds like an easy thing, but not. And with that lightweight and everything, there's a reserve in it that I really appreciate. It's beautiful. Thank you.
So next slide, please. Speaking of integrity of structure, Donna, you want to start on this one?
Okay, this is Sophia Moreau. We don't know who you are when we jury them. I want to make that perfectly clear.
Right.
But when I saw this piece, one of the things that struck me was that it's very, very difficult to have these 4 different small parts hold together so strongly, you know, and they're sewn with these wax linen threads, and the way that she cut out this kind of edge to make a kind of theatrical window for the inner part of the piece, I thought was really wonderful. Very, very finished, very polished, the way the edges are cut, and they're engravings, old engravings. And I think Mary had something to say about the interior.
Well, just that, you know, I felt that the image, the collage that's in the center, which is multi-dimensional on different levels, is just completely enchanting. And there's a moon that's on a fork. I personally have a big thing about moons. You can talk to me later about that if you want to talk about moons. I love moons. But there's kind of this aquatic, celestial, surrealistic vision of heaven. And I just think that it's a beautifully executed piece, and one that has really stayed with me as we have.
Right. The other part I love is about how it operates in the space. It goes back through the dimensions of the book without looking artificial. And that means that everything has to be cut and straight and very erect for it to work. And Sophia did a good job.
Absolutely. Next slide, please. Ah, yes, Emerging by Susan Audrey. I was just completely enchanted by this piece. And it reminded me at first of kind of the relationship between books and film, you know, sequence, palette, story. And the text of the poem is actually revealed through the transparent patches. I mean, I actually went and looked up New Beginnings. And it's a beautiful, beautiful poem. And I feel that this piece really captures kind of the feeling of the poem. You can catch little fragments in the first square. You can see just the fragment of places of the heart, and you know, the emptiness growing inside, gray promises, that sameness, ... It just, and then it's just so beautifully constructed. There's kind of almost an effervescence about this piece. If you look closely, there are these little almost bubbles that kind of sewn in that seem to be lifting off the page. And, you know, I think that O'Donoghue's elegant poetic language is just beautifully rendered in this lovely, you know, somewhat quiet piece. It's all on fabric.
Right. This is a beautiful textile piece that is presented without a frame. And this is one where I encourage you, if you go in person, which I hope you will, to the show, look closely at the subtleties in the way that she's sewn it. Thank you.
Next slide, please.
Oh,
Donna, why don't you take the lead on this?
Okay. This is Dibs in Search of Self, and it's very hard for a photograph to portray this. You have to get up really close to this piece. And Dibs in Search of Self is about a young boy, a child really, who is emotionally disabled. And this therapist wrote the book, and it's about play therapy and trying to bring the child to itself. And it has a beautiful, sophisticated kind of psychological dimension to it. And the stitching reminds me of the fragility of this boy. And in the work, in the actual book, he does come to himself. But the words, as they go down, say, my words have no meaning. I have no meaning, you know. And then in the end, it's just I. And it's poetic without being a poem. It's poignant. And the subtlety of it you know, kind of respects us as a viewer to bring ourselves to it. So
yeah, you know, it really is a metaphor for embracing our flaws and our imperfections. I mean, it really is heartbreaking. You know, you have these threads and you realize that how oftentimes we are hanging on by a thread. It just is a really poignant piece, simple and yet very psychologically sophisticated.
I would say like it's like minimalist. I was thinking like John Cage kind of piece, you know?
Right.
It's just so slow and does only what it needs to do.
Right. Well, now we've gotten to the time where we're going to reveal our placeholders. So the next slide, we'll go to third place first. This is Pencil Tapestry with text, and it's by Gloria Matuszewski. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. It is really a meditation in itself. I mean, this piece is, you get into it. The text is the Tao Te Ching, which is an ancient Chinese text. It translates roughly to the way of being or living. You know, it's basically lessons on how to live in the world with integrity. And there are 81 verses, and it's usually a small book. And what I find so amazing about this is handwritten, all 81 verses on this tapestry, if you will. And it's so elegantly patterned. The handwriting kind of draws you in, but if you look at it closely, it's there, this optical, almost art illusion of, you're kind of going back into the piece.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of reflecting on itself. And it really is captivating.
Right. I think of it as being like a prayer rug.
Yeah.
Um,
Good analogy.
and,
Yeah.
she uses these tiny little squares and meditatively kind of colors in every one. I mean, it's just a very repetitive, both the writing and the drawing.
Which speaks back to the whole text too, which is all about lessons and these are little small verses, but they pack a punch. You really have to spend time with them. And I love the idea of kind of spending time with them in this very artistic and detailed way that brings a dimensionality of time to your reading. I mean, you can't just read through, oh yeah, I know this one. It's like, no, you really have to read what the verse is. So I think that Gloria did an amazing job with that. Okay, next slide. We're on to second place. Donna, you want to start with this one?
Well, for the Altered Book Show,
Perfect.
Altered Book by B.B. Core. And here again, she's taking this little wavy piece of metal and working it so simply and perfectly, and weaving in all of these sections of book that come out the other side. I wish we had a turnaround kind of thing so you could see it, but the way it is held is perfection. And all of these seemingly small shards of book end up being horizontally outward. Now, it's as soon as we both saw it, I mean, there's just nothing wrong with it. It's just amazing. Go ahead, Mary.
Well, it also it speaks to kind of the traditions in bookbinding. You think of sewing headbands, and it's kind of like the title is almost like this incredibly elaborate headband that says altered book, and then you turn it over and you just it's the shards of a book. It's really so beautiful and almost violent too. The book just kind of explodes out of this metal, I think aluminum casing. And also I just want to make another comment on the craftsmanship, and the stand that this is on is so perfect for this book, and it's so incredibly well done and professional, and I just think that it's a very effective total picture. So now let's go to drum roll, our first place.
Our number one
pick for this show. And there were so many other wonderful books too. We can only point out a couple in this, but if we can go to the next slide, please. David's Ankles by Bridget McGraw and Sia Dot. Is that how you pronounce that? It's this laser cut accordion structure. It was a collaboration, obviously, and it's actually, the text is taken from a New York Times Magazine article in 2016 talking about the problems of David statue, the most recognized statue in the world, and the problems with his ankles, and the what people are doing about that. But this paper doll accordion whimsical treatment of the text is just so amazing because you've got, in the article, it talks about how the images of David are everywhere. They're on t-shirts, they're on shoes, they're in, barrettes and keychains and bobbleheads and everything. And so you've got that, kind of reflected in the multiplicity of Davids that you've got going through this. But I love that the text was printed in this very pale blue. It's almost as if, this beautiful marble David statue that we all know and love is somehow, almost pulsing to life. It's almost like little veins going through his marble skin. And I just found this so incredibly delightful, and with some of these other books too, when you are compelled by seeing the book and the title, it's like, oh, I want to go read this. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
as edges, Donna, you want to say something about edges?
I wanted to say that, because they're exact replicas of each other or something, there's this kind of ironic humor. It's like, nobody's perfect, but I'm not bad. And it fits, the profile fits perfectly into the profile of the sleeve. I'm doing this with my hands and you can't see it, but anyway, but that really fascinated me too, like the total design of how he slips in there and there's his profile. And the profile, as far as I can see, doesn't have the flaw on the box. But anyway, I just think conceptually, choices of ink, everything, it was like we both loved it from the start.
From the get-go. Well, and any of you that grew up with paper dolls, you know that those ankles and wrists, they always seem to, and once they break, it's a problem.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that is our presentation for you today. I hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to hand this back over to Amy and stop our video, but we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much to both of you for providing such insightful and illuminating commentary about the works. We're just so grateful for your sharing your expertise with us. And I just want to remind everyone that what we've seen tonight is really just a very small fraction of the over 135 amazing book art objects in this exhibition. So please, please, please come by the museum to experience the works in person. If you can, the photos really don't do the works justice. And I really just want to thank Donna and Mary for the time that they've devoted to this process and for also joining us, Mary in particular, remotely from Vancouver. So we're just so grateful for your expertise and enthusiasm. In the meantime, before you might have a chance to come visit us in person, I do encourage you to head on over to our website at marinmocha.org for instructions on how to get registered. So after you've set up your account, you'll go to bidsquare.com and search for Marin Museum of Contemporary Art, where you can check out the full scope of available works, images, object details, and find more information about each of the artists as well. So let's get ready to bid on these works. And now I'd just like to take a moment to thank our sponsors who have made all of this possible. Firstly, we extend our deepest gratitude to the Donald O. and Ronald R. Collins Foundation, who has once again so generously contributed a $10,000 challenge grant. Thank you, Ron. Our additional sponsors this year include Bank of Marin at our silver level, Harvest to Market and Alders Financial Solutions at our bronze level, and Jay Daniel with Black Hat Studios also provided all of our amazing photography for the works and also at a very rapid pace. So we're extremely grateful to him for his time and energy in pulling that together for the program. So thank you so much to all of our incredibly generous sponsors. And last but not least, I'd like to give a huge shout out to our amazing staff and team of volunteers who have truly brought this entire complex and intricate exhibition and event to life. Without them, none of this would have been possible. I'd like to thank our exhibition producer, Georgia Gibbs, again, our photographer, Jay Daniel, and digital producer, Cole Harrison, and our fabulous installation team led by the fearless Beryl Miller, Susan Shipley, Lynn Berger, Colleen Johnson, and just an army of amazing artists and volunteers who really make this place so special and just really make everything sing. So of course, I also want to give a big round of thanks and applause to our wonderful core staff, Mary Coman, Pat Doherty, Joan Nelson, and Susan Sharman, who I am just loving getting to know and working with on this project. So you're all amazing and just truly a powerhouse team. So thank you for all of your efforts in bringing this together. And I think that brings us to a close. Thank you all so much again for joining this evening. We'll hope to see you back at the museum very, very soon. And just please don't hesitate to check out the instructions to get registered on our website and head on over to bidsquare.com. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.